This is the live podcast with Manuel, living in full expression. Welcome to the live podcast with me, your host, Manuel. Today, we're going to look at one of the things that keeps you distracted. And I want to start by saying this, that you're not distracted because you lack discipline. You are distracted because the systems around you are engineered to pull your attention. They are doing this constantly, relentlessly, and increasingly without even you noticing it. So today we're going to be dismantling that. We're going to be going practical with a framework that you can implement this week. And so if you're ready, let's get started. Now, here's what's actually happening to high performers right now. The standard of do not disturb mode, the phone in another room trick, the app timers, those worked before now. I've talked about this in our previous episode to do this, but I've also come to discover that you need more than this to keep yourself focused. And these are not enough anymore. And this is why, because the engagement system built into our devices, our platforms, and our work tools have gotten smarter. The predictive recommendation engines now learns your behavioral patterns when you're most vulnerable to a scroll, when your attention dips, when you're between tasks, and that's precisely when they strike. And I want to tell you something very striking. The research from the University of California found it takes about an average of 23 minutes to regain full focus after an interruption. So I want you to multiply that by the number of times you're pulled out of deep work daily. You're not losing minutes, you're actually losing hours, and every single day. So there's a term for this particular thing, and it's called the cognitive switching cost. Every context switch, from deep work to a notification, from a document to a chat ping, they all burn mental bandwidth. And it doesn't just interrupt the task, it actually degrades the quality of your thinking. Now, the professionals who are winning right now aren't the ones working harder. They are actually the ones who have structurally protected their cognitive bandwidth. So the question isn't how do I have more willpower? The question is, how do I make distraction structurally harder than focus? So, and that's what we're going to be answering in this podcast today. So let's start with the foundation. Let's look at your physical environment and the hardware setup. Now, I want you to know that willpower is a finite resource. So if you're relying on it to stay focused, you've already lost it. The goal is to engineer your environment so that distraction requires effort and focus requires none. And I'm going to give you 3 practical moves that you can use to achieve this. Number 1 is to dedicate a single purpose devices. This is actually your highest leverage shift you can make. If your primary work machine is also where you watch YouTube, check social media, browse news, I can tell you that your brain has no clue that this device is a work-only tool. So in order for you to fix this, you need to designate one device, even if it's an old laptop or a tablet, that is exclusively for deep work. Remove entertainment apps, disable browsers that aren't essential, strip it down. When you sit at that machine, your brain knows this is production time. This is production mode. And this is not being extreme, actually. It's the same reason surgeons scrub in before an operation. The ritual and the environment signals the brain to shift state. And then move number 2 is your physical signal blocking for deep work blocks. So what you want to do here is you don't need to go dark all day. You just need protected blocks. There's this device called the Faraday pouches, which is a signal blocking bags for your phone. And it costs roughly around $20 or so. And what it does is that it physically prevents wireless signals. So this isn't about destructs of yourself. It's about removing the option entirely during your 2 to 3 most important work hours. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind is not enough when you know the device is nearby and is reachable. So physical signal blocking closes the loop for you. You want to schedule 2 deep work hours per day, 90 minutes each. And that phone goes into the pouch and notifications are not an option. And that's your protected creative and output window. So let's look at move number 3, which is your router level and OS level restriction. I love this as well. It just goes beyond app level blockers, which are easy to disable in a moment of weakness. So tools like Cold Turkey for Mac and PC allows you to block yourself out of specific sites and apps for a set period of time. And there are other similar tools like that you can use. And they can be overridden mid-session. So even if you install the app, you can override it for that particular period of time. So this is intentional friction built into the system. And at the router level, tools like Seco or your router's parental control can also block entire categories of sites during specific hours. So this applies to every device on your network. So you can set this up once and it removes the daily decisions entirely. Now, this is the principle. Every layer of friction you add between you and distraction increases the likelihood for you to stay in deep work. So you need to stack the layers. All right. Now we move from hardwares to your digital workflow. And this is where most people have the most chaos. You want to talk about your email, your Slack, your DMs, project tools, all fighting for real-time attention. I'm going to give you some protocols you can activate to help you deal with this. The first one is the async-first communication by default. So what you need to know is that real-time communication is the enemy of deep work output. Most messages marked as urgent are actually not urgent. So you need to shift your communication default to asynchronous. You set a status message or an autoresponder during your deep work blocks. A message like, I respond to messages at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. For emergency, put a call across. So all messages get this response and that blocks you off from getting those distractions. Then you can batch your communication. So 2 windows per day, 1 midday and 1 late afternoon. You can check these messages and respond to them, and also block a time frame when you can respond to all of these messages. So this is not about being unavailable. It's about being intentionally available on your own terms, not being pushed by people's demands. Now let's look at protocol number 2, which is the signal input digest. So if you're checking 5 different platforms for messages throughout the day, you are in a reactive mode by design. So what you need to do here is to consolidate. You can use tools like Spike, Notion, or even a simple daily note to funnel all non-urgent communications into one review. So what you want to do is to check that digest during your communication window, not in real time. So the goal here is 1 place, 2 times a day. Everything else can wait. All right. So this gives you a more focused time. Now let's look at protocol number 3, which is the output gate access. So this is the most powerful behavioral protocol in this framework that I'm sharing with you today. So what you want to do here is to define your non-negotiable daily output metrics. For example, you can have a word count, the number of words you need to write in a day if you're an author, a client's deliverables, a specific task completed. So access to high dopamine platform like your social media, news, entertainment is only unlocked after that output is met. So this can serve as a reward for achieving your output for the day. So you can enforce this manually through habit, or you can use tools like OneSec. It's an iOS and Android app that you can use, which add intentional delay and friction before opening distracting apps. So even a 10-second pause with a prompt, is this intentional, can reduce impulsive opens by over 50% according to the app's own published research. So you are conditioning your brain, production first, consumption second. So every day you run this, you are rewiring the reward loop for yourself. Okay, now here is where this gets deeper than productivity. This is about who you are as a thinker. So when algorithms make your reading suggestions, your viewing choices, your content diet, they are actually shaping your thinking. And the ideas that feel like yours are increasingly now the idea they feed surface to you. So this is the quieter threat, and it's the one most high performers don't think about. Now I want you to know that original thoughts requires silence, not silence as in no noise, silence as in space between inputs. And so here are 3 practices that can rebuild that space for you. Practice number 1 is what I call the input free time daily. So what it means is maximum 30 minutes per day with no podcast, no content, no music with lyrics, just walking, driving, exercising without any input. Just allow that silence. This might feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is actually the data you need. It tells you how dependent your brain has become on external stimulation to feel okay. So push through it. And this is where original thinking lives. Practice number 2 is what I call the source creation audit. And you can do this monthly. So once a month, audit what's in your feed, your subscriptions, your information diet. You can ask questions like, did I choose this or did an algorithm suggest it? You want a curated, intentional information diet, not an algorithmically optimized ones. So you need to be conscious about this and intentional. And then practice number 3 is a weekly reflection without prompts. So you can journal or think through the week without a template, an AI prompt, or a framework. Just what did I actually think this week? What ideas are mine? So you want to do this without any form of prompt. You do it on your own. This practice actually reconnects you to your own mind. For high-level decision makers, this is not optional. Your competitive advantage is your judgment, and judgment requires original thoughts. Okay, so let's talk about why this compounds. This is a stacking mechanism that you need to put, and this is why it's important. The average knowledge worker switches stacks every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. And that's from Gloria Mark's research at the University of California, Irvine. Now, high performers running these frameworks are protecting 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted deep work daily. So over a year, that's thousands of hours of high quality cognitive output versus fragmented low depth work. That gap is where careers, businesses, and creative legacies are built. But this only works if you maintain it. And here is your audit rhythm. So you want to do this monthly. You want to review your communication protocols. Are the ASIC windows still holding? Have new distraction crept into your hardware setup? And then quarterly, you need to reassess your tools. New engagement features get shipped constantly. So what worked 6 months ago may need an update. Then annually, you want to audit your information diet at a micro level. Are the inputs shaping the thinker you want to be or not? So you need to answer that question yourself. The professionals who stay ahead aren't just implementing systems, they are actually auditing and evolving them. So in closing, here's your takeaway from today's episode. 3 things you can do this week. Number 1, you want to designate one device for deep work only. Strip it down this week. And number 2, you want to set your 2 communication windows and put an autoresponder on everything else during deep works hour. And number 3, you want to run 30 minutes of input free time every day for the next 7 days and notice what comes up. This is actually the starting point. Not because it is everything, but because implementation beats information every time. So it doesn't matter how many information you have heard, if you've not implemented them, it's of no use. So you don't need more hacks. You just need a protected space to think, create, and lead at the level you're actually capable of. If this landed well, share it with someone in your network who needs it. You can also leave a review of what you have implemented. This has been the live podcast with me, your host, Manuel. And until I see you in our next episode, keep living in full expression.